Legend says a Roman master once grabbed his slave's leg and began to twist it, slowly, just to enjoy his pain. The slave didn't flinch. He just said, calmly, "Keep twisting and you'll break it." Then the bones snapped. That slave was Epictetus. When the leg finally broke, he added only this: "Didn't I tell you? No escrim, no tears." Just a quiet observation, delivered like a man commenting on the weather, not his own shattered bone. That calm wasn't performance. It was the entire philosophy of his life, forged in chains and tested by fire. Epictetus was born around 50 AD in Hierapolis, in what is now Turkey, in his slavery from his very first breath. His name wasn't even his own. Epictetus simply means acquired in Greek. He was property before he was a person. He was owned by Epictetus, a wealthy freedman who served as secretary to Emperor Nero himself. Imagine that. A slave standing in the shadow of the most powerful, most paranoid court on earth. Ancient writers say the crippling came from cruelty inside that very household, not from some passing stranger. Despite the brutality, Epictetus found something no whip could touch: a teacher named Musonius Rufus and Stoic philosophy. Musonius Rufus ran an underground school in Rome, teaching that virtue matters more than status, chains, or blood. A slave sat in that room and listened, and something in him woke up that no master could ever own. He learned the core idea that would define his entire life. Some things are up to us, and some are not. Your body isn't fully up to you. Your reputation isn't up to you. Even your own leg isn't up to you. But your judgments, your choices, your reactions, those are yours alone, untouchable by any master or emperor. Epictetus realized his captors could own his body, but never his mind. That distinction became his entire freedom. Eventually, he was freed, likely after Nero's death in 68 AD, when the empire spiraled into chaos and civil war. A former slave, disabled and penniless, began teaching philosophy in Rome, drawing crowds who came for something rare: honesty. He owned almost nothing: a simple lamp, a bed, a cloak. Once, thieves stole even that, and he shrugged. "I've lost some iron and a bit of ceramic," he supposedly said. Nothing that mattered had actually been taken from him. Meanwhile, across the city, men draped in purple and gold sat on thrones, terrified of losing everything at any moment. Nero murdered his own mother, fearing her ambition, then died alone at 30, hunted by his own soldiers. Power hadn't made Nero free. It had made him a prisoner of his own paranoia, chained to every threat imaginable. Epictetus, meanwhile, owned nothing and feared nothing. So which one of them was actually enslaved? In 93 AD, Emperor Domitian expelled every philosopher from Rome, terrified that free thinkers might question his rule. Epictetus, a man who'd already survived slavery and a shattered leg, simply packed up and moved to Nicopolis, Greece. There, in a small coastal town, he opened a school. Students traveled from across the empire just to listen. He never wrote a single book himself. A student named Arrian secretly transcribed his lectures, word for word, as he spoke. Those notes became the Discourses and the Enchiridion, a short handbook that would outlive every emperor of Rome. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled the known world, carried Epictetus's words with him on military campaigns decades later. Picture that, the most powerful man alive, studying the wisdom of a man his own empire once owned as property. Epictetus taught that freedom isn't about circumstance. It's a discipline, something you build daily, one choice at a time. Freedom is not procured by satisfying desire, he said, but by eliminating it. A radical idea in a status-obsessed empire. He taught students to ask one question before reacting to anything painful. Is this within my control, or isn't it? If it's not up to you, why let it wreck your peace? If it is up to you, why complain instead of act? This wasn't cold detachment. It was a fierce, practical toughness built for a world that offers no guarantees to anyone. Epictetus lived simply, some say with a wife and adopted child his later years, teaching until his final breath. He died around 135 AD, decades after the very emperors who once could have destroyed him with a single word. His leg never healed straight. He walked with a limp for the rest of his life, a permanent reminder of cruelty. Yet ask anyone who studied him, the limp was never the story. The unshaken mind behind it always was. Centuries later, prisoners of war, hostages, and soldiers in impossible situations have turned to his words for survival. James Stockdale, a U.S. pilot tortured for years in a Vietnamese prison camp, credited Epictetus with keeping his mind intact. Stockdale had studied the Enchiridion before his capture. In the worst years of his life, that slave's wisdom carried him. Think about that chain, a broken leg in ancient Rome, echoing into a prison cell 2,000 years later. Epictetus never controlled his birth, his master, his leg, or his exile. He controlled exactly one thing, his own response. And that one thing turned out to be enough to outlast emperors, empires, and every chain ever placed on him. So the next time something outside your control wrecks your day, remember the slave who outfreed his own masters. Your circumstances were never the whole story. What you decide to do with them always was, and still is. If ancient wisdom like this helps you carry your own weight a little lighter, stay close and subscribe.